How did I start out in this crazed business? I always wanted to be in TV or film, mainly film. I started out trying to be a screenwriter. I went to NYU Film School, and then I came out here to go to UCLA grad school, always for writing. I never wanted to be a director. I can't get up that early in the morning, and I'm too chaotic to direct anything. But writing was what my passion was. And so when I left college, I went around looking for a job for a couple of years. My first job was a movie, actually, a feature movie that my agent just grabbed for me. I kicked around a couple of years after the movie, trying to get other movies started, stuff like that, and then I teamed with an agent who said, well, you should get into TV. And that was kind of a long 13-year drought trying to get into TV, which I really didn't want to do at the time. And then somehow I got into a cartoon mode when I came back from Phoenix, Arizona. I was there being a game designer for about a year. And I came back and someone told me they were doing a He-Man at Filmation. And they said, you know, you'd be great for it. They said, because we know you like to write fantasy stuff and you like to do sword and sorcery. And I said, oh, well, yeah, that would be interesting for me. I'd like that. So I did go into Filmation. I met with Arthur Nadell, who was the producer of He-Man at the time. And I was going to pitch a couple of stories, but he said, well, you know, we have like a script that, no, I did pitch a couple of stories, and he bought one. And that was The Dragon's Gift, which is kind of a classic He-Man. When I was halfway through that script, they asked me to come and work for them on staff. I'm sorry, that's wrong. I had finished that script and they asked me to come on staff because they really liked the script. They had bought two originally from me, and I had to do the second one while I was on staff doing the first one, so I was kind of writing all the time. I was writing at home, I was writing at work, I was doing nothing but writing for a couple of weeks. I worked that job for 2 years, and that was the beginning of my cartoon career. To this point, I've done maybe 140 half-hour cartoons. The way I became involved in Beast Wars was Mainframe Entertainment had wanted to do it all CGI. Now, Mainframe had done Reboot previously. That was like the first big CGI show for television. And when they came to us, they said, you know, we really liked the way Reboot looked, but frankly, we thought the story sucked all the way through, and we thought that's why that Reboot didn't go as long as it should have. It had great animation, but they couldn't hold them. There was nothing about the characters or the stories that would hold people. Some people love Reboot, but personally, I think they were right. Their storytellers sucked. And they came to our agent, Candy Montero at the time, and said, we want Bob Forward and we want Larry because they both have good reputations as storytellers. They do good stories, and they have a fan base and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, would the boys like to do it? And we said, Transformers, nah, not really. We weren't big Transformers fans. It came past the time that we were adolescents, for one thing, and usually your favorite cartoon shows when you're an adolescent, and it's like everything to you. We were adults, and it wasn't everything to us. The old show we hadn't seen much of. I wasn't that high on giant robots. I thought giant robots, you know, big deal. I'm not that crazy about giant robots. Bob felt the same way, and they said, well, look, you know, would you meet with us and talk to us? And we said, well, you know, we're always willing to meet and talk. That's, you know, maybe they'll talk us into it. When we met Chris Bruff, who at that time was with Mainframe, I don't even know if he still is. I think he's opened his own place now. But Chris said, you know, we really want you guys because you're storytellers, you know how to put a show together, and we'll pay you a lot. And he said, and we, you know, we'll give you carte blanche, whatever you want to do. And they said, you know, we want you to come up with something really great. You know, you'll work with Hasbro. And Chris had a good spirit about the thing in that we felt we were going to do something that was a challenge to us, and that was going to be fun to do, and we were going to, you know, work, and we were going to get paid a lot of money, which was even better. And we said, okay, you know, let's take a shot at this. And that's how we got into Beast Wars. Bob Forward and I had worked together at Filmation. Now Bob, I don't know if he'll say this at some point, but Bob usually says to me that I'm the guy who made him a writer, so he owed me for that. And the way that worked out is when I was at Filmation, the year I left to go to Deke, they were left without a writer, a staff writer over there. I had been the main staff writer there. I probably would have been up to producer in a year or so. If I had stayed with Filmation, I'd now be out of work as well because Filmation is gone. But if I had stayed, I probably would have moved up to producer. When the gap opened up, they needed another writer fast. And Bob had done, he had taken a shot at doing a He-Man one time that worked out pretty well, and they said, well, would you like to do it? So Bob says, had you never left Filmation, I very simply never would have become a cartoon writer. Bob was drawing, he was a storyboard artist, which is of course very good for a writer to be a storyboard artist because he could both draw and he could write, and he can direct as well. He's much more talented than I am, or multi-talented anyway. I stick to the writing, and that's how we met. And we were always pretty good friends at Filmation, and so we were happy to work together. But we were never a writing team. We never wrote together. I wrote my scripts, he wrote his scripts. I story edited one half of it, he story edited half of it. We obviously collaborated. We said, oh, let's do this and let's do that, let's do that. A lot on the story process was a lot of collaboration there. And we got along really well, and I was kind of bad cop and he was kind of good cop when we were dealing with the producers, so that worked out well too. I was the guy who would be, screaming at the top of my lungs, "No, you can't do that to Optimus," and Bob would say, "Oh, no, maybe we could if we did this and we changed that." He was diplomatic. I had no tact whatsoever, so we made a good team, good story editor team on that, and that's how we got. That's how we teamed up on it, and then we said, let's do this. Let's really make it a good show. When I first started Beast Wars. Bob and I had to look at the show. We were starting from scratch because the Beast Warriors were not the original Transformers. The original Transformers were bigger, they were about 30 feet tall. These guys were about almost human size, a little bigger. Hasbro really didn't quite want to know where they wanted to go with it, so it fell to us. And we kind of looked at each other in an airport in Canada and said, what do we want to do with this? And I said, Bob said, and we both said it like at the same time, we want to make a science fiction show. Transformers is basically science fiction. It's about an impact of technology, in this case the technology being the protagonists themselves. And we said this is the fascinating concept, that these robots are at war with each other. It's a science fiction concept if we can get somewhere where we figure out why are they sentient and who made them sentient, where did they come from. So we were starting to really get into, we were going to make a canon about Beast Wars. Now the thing was, there was all of this other stuff, there was this whole canon of Transformers, which we quickly got up to speed on. There was a guy at, I wish I could remember his name, there was a guy at Hasbro, his first name was Anthony, but I don't remember his last name, and he was like a walking Transformers encyclopedia. I mean, he could tell you every episode, he could tell you who was in it. And he really kind of wanted to make the original Transformers again. Later on, we found out that the fans wanted us to make the original Transformers again. They wanted to see Starscream, and they wanted to see Optimus. They didn't want to see Optimus Primal the monkey, or Tarantulas the spider. They really wanted to see those old robots. And that was a little rift between us and the fans right from the beginning. But what we wanted to do and what hit us was, it's a science fiction show, and we want to really get deep into these characters and explore like what they are, what makes them the characters they are, and why. Why would you want a sentient robot? If you're going to do a war machine, don't make it think, it's a better warrior. But science fiction was what drew us to it, and that's what we tried to do with the show, make it a really science fiction show that worked well. What I enjoyed about Beast Wars, which really isn't Transformers, it really is Beast Wars. It is Transformers, but it isn't. It's part of it. What we liked about it, what did we like? Well, first of all, I had seen Reboot, and it did look nice, but we were kind of waiting breathlessly for the first episode to be made, so we could see how CGI worked. We had been classic cartoon writers for many years, and CGI writing is not vastly different, but there's a lot of stuff you have to watch out for in CGI. There's things you say, oh, now we can really do anything. And the truth is, no, you can't. There are things that you can't do in CGI. At that time, now thanks to Pixar and other such companies, you can. At that time, you couldn't do it. It was hard to do things like skipping a stone across the water. They did that, as a matter of fact, on Beast Wars, and that's a very, very hard thing to do in CGI because the stone really can't, there's nothing there. People falling into the water, very, very difficult to do. Fog, mist, which you can do easily in classic, you can do well in CGI, but they managed to do almost everything they told us not to do by the end of the show. And we're proud of that, and we're proud of them for doing it. They said, oh, we can push the envelope on this. I got so into why a robot would be able to think and what made them different and what made them, we really went to their human core. We put in love relationships, you know, besides the war and the death, we put in love relationships. We put in the most insane mystic you ever see in the character of Rhinox, which really evolved from what we started to do. It really started with The Spark, my episode, The Spark, in which I said, okay, the Transformers actually have a soul called the Spark, and if it goes out, they're dead. If they just get shot up, we can bring them back, but if the Spark goes out, they're dead. And we really ran with that idea in the first season and most of the second season. And that's what we liked about it. It was all new ground for us, and it was all new ground for the Transformers fans. I'm afraid we took it a little better than the Transformers fans took it at first. And at first the fans were yelling, oh, sucks, terrible, awful, this no good, where's Optimus Prime, where's Starscream? We hate this. 3 episodes in, they were calling us the greatest guys that ever came down the pike. They said, this is just so fantastic, it's so interesting, it's so different, it's so that. And so that's what we wanted, and so it was a great thrill to us when the fans kind of started to come around and say, hey, you know, maybe it's not the old one, but it's pretty good. When I finally dropped Starscream into an episode, I mean, everybody went ballistic and said, oh, they're bringing them back, they're coming, the original Transformers are coming, and you know, they were very happy. Then we weren't, because, you know, there was a lot of episodes of the original Transformers, and to try to keep up with that canon and make it as good as what the fans liked in the first one, without us really understanding it because we were never that big of fans, was kind of an accomplishment on our part. And as we started to get into the Transformers thing, we started to bring back more Transformers cars and started to ask the question, what happened in the 300 years since somebody had seen the last Transformers cartoon and Beast Warriors started? Where did the Maximals come from? Where did the Predacons come from? There was so much world building and creating involved in Beast Wars that I love doing that. I love the world building and the creating characters. Bob likes firing really big guns. He really likes firing really big guns and exploding things. Even his lifestyle is exploding things with his sons. So that's what we really enjoyed about that as we first got into Beast Wars, particularly the first 26 episodes. The way I feel about Beast Wars is that's the place that the kind of cartoons that I like to do, cartoons that are for a family to watch. You know, a dad to watch with his son, a mom to watch with her daughter. It all came together in Beast Wars for me. That was the thing. I got many letters on Beast Wars, on episodes that touched people's hearts. Transmutate would be one that Christy Marks did. Bob Forward's Code of Hero, which I still think is the best episode, even if it is mine. But I thought my episodes were pretty good as well, and then I created something that's going to last and that people will see in this DVD and will really enjoy. And if you can make people enjoy, that's what I'm here for. Like I said at the beginning of the interview, I'm a guy who wants to have fun, and Beast Wars was fun for just about everyone.